Okay, we are about 2 minutes past the hour now, so we are going to go ahead and get started with our informative webinar today on task reminders and Google Keep. We have some people still trickling in, so if any of your colleagues or coworkers were going to attend and maybe they couldn't or they're going to join late, you can let them know that this session is recorded start to finish. So we will be providing you with both the recording and the slide deck that I'm using today for some helpful links and cheat guides for you to follow after the fact. So you can certainly use this session today just as an informative session. Just sit back, relax, enjoy from start to finish, and then we'll follow up with some additional materials for you to learn on your own. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for taking some time out of your day to continue your knowledge on the Google ecosystem. Specifically, what we're focusing on today will be Google Task, Reminders, and Google Keep. So we've heard some feedback from our customers that there seems to be 3 different products that sort of achieve the same end results. So we wanted to take some time today to have a discussion on what each of these products and features deliver within G Suite to give you an opportunity to learn about them and more evaluate or better evaluate which is the best product for you. So I will be your presenter for today. My name is Tina Mowen. I recognize a lot of familiar names on today's session today, some new names. We have a lot of customers, so great to meet those that are new and those familiar names. Nice to see you once again. For those that might be new, new introduction here, I am one of the customer success managers with Suitebriar. So you might see my names attached to some renewals or just general support tickets for escalation. Feel free to reach out to me at any time if you have specific questions about your G Suite instance. And also remember, you can always send questions to our help desk, which is helpdesk@suitebriar.com. Okay, so today's agenda is very obvious. So we're talking about task reminders and Google Keep. But what we are hoping you will get out of today's session is answering 4 key questions. So first, which is best suited for you? So which one would be best suited for you at a task reminders and Google Keep? What are the differences between these 3 products so you can evaluate the pros and cons based off of your workflow, your position, and what will work best for you? We are also going to talk about what is the Suitebriar recommendation. Spoiler alert, it is Google Keep, but we'll be talking about why we recommend Google Keep because it is a feature that is frequently bypassed either in the personal or the G Suite business accounts. And then we'll wrap up today's session showing you how you can learn more about each of these topics so you can continue your learning experience in the G Suite platform. As we roll through the demonstrations today, I welcome you to ask any questions that you may have. You can enter them into the question box or the chat box. Everybody today is muted by default, but if you prefer to ask your question verbally, you can select the raise hand icon, and that will let me know that I can unmute you and then you can ask your question verbally. Whatever you're most comfortable with is perfectly fine. Now, I am going to save the questions for the end of the session just so we can get through all of the content, but if we need to revisit any of the demonstrations to answer those questions, we can certainly do that. So first up on our agenda today, we're going to look at tasks which live in Gmail on the G Suite platform. So we're going to be talking about how you can access your task, how you create your task and your task list, and then also how you can organize and update your task, and a couple tips and tricks on how you can effectively use task and relate emails and work with it seamlessly in your email inbox. So as a brief introduction, task is really best suited for people that like to view a to-do list. So if you're the type of person that likes to check off boxes, the tasks that live in email might be best for you. This is also closely tied to email because it lives right within your Gmail screen. So if you're often associating tasks based off of emails that you send or receive, this might be a great tool for you because it lives right on the Gmail screen. You can then assign due dates to tasks. You can fill out details. When you assign due dates to tasks, it will associate then with your Google Calendar. So I will be highlighting that as well, showing you how you can bring up your task list on your Google Calendar. The one caveat to remember when you assign a due date for task, however, is you only assign a specific date, not a time that's associated with it. So you can assign a due date, but not a time. So one thing to keep in mind when you're evaluating. So we'll get right into the demonstration now. So you can see first how you can access your task, how you can use them effectively, and then some tips and tricks. So to access our task, in the top left corner of our screen, I can select the drop-down menu where I can locate my mail, contacts, and the third one below will be your task list. Your task box will open in the bottom right corner of your screen, and it is a smaller window, but for those of you that prefer the larger composing experience, you can select the pop out option, and that will pop it out in a completely new window. So if you have multiple monitors or you just want to drag it around the screen, it doesn't have to live in your Gmail inbox. Now, when it comes to creating tasks, that is quite simple. So I can enter a new task here. So I will enter deliver webinar. You can have subtask for top level task as well. So I can say, do a great job. I can find indentation either with the hotkeys, so I can just select the tab button on my keyboard, or if you're more of a point and click type of person, under the action items, you can find your indentation where you can indent or you can move and rearrange your task. So now that we have a task created, we can fill out more details. More specifically, we can assign due dates for our task. So if I want to have a due date of tomorrow for this task, I can also add in notes. So this is our task, reminders, and Google Keep topic. And it will automatically save, and now you'll see that my notes are also displayed in my task. So now that we've created a task, I want to highlight some additional actions that you can take on your task, and then also show you how you can manage multiple lists, and then some advanced tips and tricks. So first, looking at additional actions that you can take on your task. So we already looked at how you can indent, move up and down. You can actually email task list as well. So if you're creating a task list for a project team and you just need some time to gather your thoughts and build out a to-do list, you can email that list to your team. What that is not is it is not a collaborative document. It's just really a reference guide, a to-do list. So other people won't be able to check it off, but it's helpful that you can still email it out. You can also print it off if you like a paper copy and you need to take it with you. You can view your completed task, sort by due date, or clear your completed task. We can simply mark a task as completed by selecting the checkbox, and then if it becomes cluttered, we can clear our completed task as we move through our task list through the day. So those are the additional actions you can take on your task list. What we're going to look at now is how you can manage multiple lists. So the list I'm looking at right now is a list that I've designated sample list. If you're starting fresh with Google Task in your Gmail, it will just be your display name. So in this Gmail account, my name is Bugs Bunny, so just a sandbox environment that we have. If I want to create an additional task list, I can select that icon in the bottom right corner and generate a new list. You can name your new list, so I'll just call this Training To-Dos. And now I have a brand new task list that is separate from my other list. This is great if your position requires you to work on several projects at once, so you can have task lists for different projects, or maybe your position is really 2 or 3 roles all rolled into one. This is great to separate out your task based off of whatever role you or whatever hat you're wearing for that time. You can simply navigate back and forth between all those lists as well. So you can see I have this list, I can navigate back to my original list, and I can view them all on the same screen. So that's it for viewing and managing tasks just within the window here. One advanced tip that I want to share with you is the ability to turn an email into a task. So I can open an email, and if I select the More drop-down arrow at the top of my screen, I can add it to my task list. Now, what you'll see then is it will capture the subject line of that email, and it will give you a link for that related email. This is helpful for times you just need to set a follow-up time, or maybe there's a lot of information in that email and you need to set a due date for it. You can assign it to your task list, and even after you navigate from that email, you can simply select the link and it will bring up that email for you once more. Okay, so we looked at a lot of great information for tasks. So how to access, how you can manage your task. But what we're going to look at now is how you can view and manage your task within Google Calendar. So I'll bring up Google Calendar from my apps launcher. And what I first want to note is in Google Calendar, you can either be running with Google Task or Google Reminders, but not both at the same time. We'll talk about that more once we get to Google Reminders, but worth mentioning for those of you that may have gone back and forth a little bit as a quick reminder that you can switch to Task if yours currently says Reminders. Now you'll notice once I select the checkbox next to the task calendar, I can view my entire task list to the right side of my calendar. I have the additional action buttons at the top of or the bottom of the screen here. I can also switch back and forth between the different lists that I have created, and I can even add tasks right from Google Calendar as well. So you can use Task both in email and in Calendar, but I find it's most effective for those that are tied to their email. Now, if you recall, we assigned some due dates for tasks. So this one right here is on November 29th. So if I navigate to November 29th, I can see that task is on my calendar. Now with the task, it will be listed at the top of the calendar where your all-day events are located. If you recall, you do not set a specific time for that task. It's just to be completed on that specific day. You can mark it as done from here, and then it will get the strike through text in your email. So in short summary, tasks are great for people that are really tied to your email. Maybe you just want a to-do list with some check boxes. You can still relate it to your Google Calendar and view it from your Google Calendar. However, if you need to be more specific with setting times for tasks, maybe this feature is not the feature for you. The other caveat to keep in mind is tasks are not mobile friendly. So if you are a heavy mobile user, whether that's on a smartphone or a tablet, iPad or Android tablet, Reminders or Google Keep might be the better option for you. Okay, so we have come full circle in Google Task. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about the product. Through these slides that we will deliver, it will have quick links to everything that I just showed you on the screen. So fear not, you don't have to memorize all the processes that I show you. You can find them easily after the fact. Now, the second feature that we're going to highlight will be Reminders. So Reminders is a great tool for exactly that, getting reminders. Reminders are different from Task in that I view Reminders as being really tied to a Google Calendar. So I said tasks were really tied to your email, reminders were really tied to Google Calendar. Reminders might be the answer for you if you are looking for quick ways to get reminded. Maybe you just need these notifications to pop up that you need to perform a task or you need to do something or something has a specific due date. Although it's really tied to your calendar, it is also mobile friendly. So you can get reminders on your mobile devices. So even if you're traveling, these reminders will follow you. So with reminders, I'm going to show you how you can access them in Google Calendar. And then I'm going to show you how you can set reminders and then also use them effectively. Now keep in mind, even if you do like reminders, you'll still want to stick around for Google Keep because reminders are tied into Google Keep as well. Okay, so we're going to go back into Google Calendar. And if you remember when we were talking about task, I said that you can either work with task or you can work with reminders on your Google Calendar. You can easily switch back and forth if you choose to work with both, but I find it's easier to pick one and run with it. So in this case, if you have task currently displayed in your Google Calendar, you can select the drop-down arrow here using the 3 dots and switch to reminders. Now, reminders will be additional events just displayed on your calendar. We can easily create reminders by acting as if we were creating an event, but now we simply select reminder. So in this case, if I needed a reminder, drop off that important worksheet. I just need a quick reminder. I can save it, and now it is displayed on my calendar. One key difference between task and reminders is reminders will allow you to set a specific time. So you can set a time for this reminder. If it's something you need to do weekly, you can have it repeat weekly, monthly, daily. If you need a reminder to go to the gym every day at 6 a.m., you can get those kinds of reminders. But this is great because you can associate it with a specific time. You can still list reminders as an all-day event, which means it just needs to be performed on that particular day. You will be able to distinguish easily between reminders and all other different kinds of events because reminders will have the icon that has a finger with a string tied around it. So the old school reminders, I suppose. But that way you can easily distinguish between what are reminders on your calendars and then what are events. Now, one of my favorite features about reminders is that they travel with you. So you can see at the top of the screen here, I have 2 reminders that just traveled from previous days that didn't get complete. So if I don't complete my reminders, they will travel with me to the next day. I can mark a reminder as complete, so I can mark that as done. And it will disappear from the main view here, but it will get marked as completed on that specific day. You can go through and view all of your reminders. So if you have multiple reminders on one day, it does start to stack up like a to-do list. So if you want to view it as more of a list view, you can just open up your reminders for that day and you can edit, trash, or you can mark them as complete. So now relating task and reminders. So as I said, tasks really tied to email, reminders really tied to calendar. Tasks are very good for people that like the list view with the check boxes so you can just go one after another. Reminders are really great if you want to tie them to a calendar and just make sure you have these notifications that come up on specific days and times. Okay, I'm going to just pause there for a moment to see if we had any questions coming in. I do encourage you to enter questions. A lot of the questions I'm going to save till the end of the session, but just wanted to pause for a brief moment. Here's a great question since we're in reminders. Is there a way to view a list of all reminders or make a list of reminders? So reminders isn't like task where it has the checkbox list. What I would recommend is you stick around for our discussion on Google Keep because I think you will like the ability to sort by specific reminders and their due date. And then we had a question come in that task does not show up on your calendar drop-down list. So if you have reminders, if you select these three dots, you should have the option to switch to task. Let me know if you don't, though. We can always take a look at it. Okay, great questions, though. Keep them coming in. If I skipped over your question, just know that we're going to get to it at the end. I wanted to leave the remainder of our time today to focus on Google Keep. It seems that many of our customers have found tasks, have found reminders, but seem to completely bypass Google Keep. Google Keep is the Suitebriar recommendation because it is the perfect marriage between having task list, but also applying reminders to them that also associate to your calendar and is mobile friendly. So for many people, it is the answer. Not saying you have to use Google Keep because some people just need something as simple as the task list in the Gmail screen, but I really encourage you to evaluate the Google Keep product because it can add a lot of features to G Suite for you. So what we're going to look at in Google Keep is first how you can access Google Keep. Then we'll look at how you can create notes or list, add items, work with the different notes. Then how you can apply reminders to those notes or manage those reminders. And a key feature that we love, the ability to share notes within Google Keep so you can collaborate together. So for those of you that are not familiar with Google Keep, you can locate it in the Apps Launcher in the top of any of your G Suite applications. You'll notice that my Google Keep icon is towards the top. Yours is probably buried maybe a little further down. And if you didn't know, you can actually rearrange your icons to whatever makes sense for you. I personally like to have Google Keep towards the top because I use it quite frequently. So that might be a helpful tip for you. Now I can simply select on Keep and it will launch the application. If you don't want to use the icon, or maybe you don't live in G Suite very frequently, but you want a note-taking app, you can always just simply visit keep.google.com. Okay, so now that we are in Google Keep, we're going to start off with just some basic navigation so you know what's all on the left side of the screen and the different features that Google Keeps comes with. Then we'll take a look at note-taking, list-making, managing that, applying reminders, and collaborating. Okay, so first at the top of the screen, you'll see that you can view your notes, or you can view notes that have reminders applied to them. So Joan, I believe this was your question. Maybe you were interested in reminders, but you really wanted to have just a list of things that had reminders for them. This would be a great answer for you, Joan. If you create notes, or maybe they're just quick reminders that have titles, in Google Keep, you could just sort by everything that is considered a reminder. You'll see in a moment as well that once you apply a reminder, it associates with your Google Calendar anyway, right to your reminders. So a more robust option than just using reminders. In Google Keep, you also have the ability to create labels. So I have Project A, Project B. We'll call this training. And now I have 3 labels. So you have the ability to apply labels to your different notes, and then you can just sort your notes through those specific labels. This is great if you're running multiple projects, or maybe you have different roles, or you want to keep some personal notes in there and you just want them separate from your work notes so you can easily distinguish in the future. You can access then your archive notes. So the archive notes is fantastic, a feature I really like. I do not like to delete my notes because who knows if I'm going to need them again in the future. I have a lot of good stuff in my notes, so I just archive them. Don't know if I'm going to need them. I don't have a neat place for them, and I can simply archive them. But if I do need them in the future, I can simply use the search bar at the top of the screen to find those notes. And it is very robust. If it was a reminder, if it's an old list you were looking for, if there were particular people associated to it, if you know that it was a purple note, you can look on those specific colors as well. So this is very helpful. I even reference old notes that I have in old journals. I take notes all the time, so it's very helpful to just keep a library of your old notes. Now you do have the trash location as well. One thing that I like to highlight is that your notes will stay in trash for 7 days. In Gmail, you get a 30-day grace period, but in Notes, it's 7 days. After those 7 days, it is deleted. Okay, so if I can definitely draw your attention to this portion, this will really get Google Keep set up successfully for you. There's a couple settings that you might want to configure so Google Keep is set up for you. So you can choose to add items to the bottom, so they just automatically add to the bottom, otherwise they'll go to the top. You can move checked items to the bottom, so if you check it, mark it as done, it'll go to the bottom. You can also define what you consider morning, afternoon, and evening. So if you set a reminder to remind you tomorrow morning, does morning mean 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 11 a.m.? You can define what morning, afternoon, and evening mean for you. By default, enable sharing will be turned on. I recommend that you keep that turned on because that's how you can share notes with others. And just remember that nobody can see your notes, to-do lists, reminders, unless you explicitly share it with them. And then you have the option to display links or rich links in previews. Now, 2 more features here that I want to highlight. First is that you can do some app downloads. So I said Google Keep is very mobile friendly. So whether you have an Android or an iPhone, you can add that, but you can also add it as a Chrome extension. So you can save notes just as you're surfing the web. So if you have a really good reference article, maybe in your knowledge base or a support article that you found scouring the web, you can easily save it in Google Keep. And for those power users, you can use keyboard shortcuts. If you're familiar with the keyboard shortcuts in Gmail, it's very similar in Google Keep. So if you hit the letter C, it moved my cursor to taking a note. So if you like to just stay on your keyboard and not use your mouse very much, that is a great solution for you. Okay, so now that my note or my cursor is right on taking a note, we're going to look at how you can take notes, how you can switch between paragraph note taking and list note taking, apply reminders, collaborate together, and work with your notes. So I can start taking a note. And you see that I can have notes in just simple paragraph form, simple text form. You can also insert images, so you can add screenshots, you can insert images from your computer. One thing that I love and I like to do frequently, since it is mobile friendly, I take pictures all the time with my mobile phone, whether I'm out shopping and I need to remember it for later, I'll just save it in Google Keep. If something happens and I need to store it somewhere, I can save it in Google Keep. It's great to just have that ability to just scan it with your phone and save it in Google Keep. Now, if you do not want to take the paragraphed notes, you can switch to check boxes. So the 3 dots here, I can do show check boxes, and now I can have a task list. So I can have task 1, task 2, task 3, and you can have a specific task list. So you can also give it a title. So my to-do list, whatever title makes the most sense for you. So I saw one question come in on how you can maybe view multiple lists at the same time. This will be a great answer for you. You can just create different to-do lists here, and then you can just view them on the grid view, switch back and forth very easily as you check off your list. So now that we have a list created, what I want to talk about is applying reminders. You can apply reminders in the same icon, the finger with a string tied around it. And you can use common language, so later today, tomorrow, morning, next week, or you can pick a specific date and time. One thing that's new in Google Keep for assigning the reminders is location-based reminders. So if I wanted to find a specific location, let's say the Philadelphia International Airport, once I got to that location, that is what would provoke the reminder. So if I wanted to set a reminder to get my ticket out of the glove compartment box, you can just simply set a location-based reminder. Maybe you're tossing and turning because there's something you cannot forget to do in the office the next day. You can set a location-based reminder that says as soon as you get to the office, make sure you complete this specific task. So it's one thing that I use quite frequently because when things stack up, sometimes I get a little scatterbrained. Now you can also do other options, so we can color code, we can archive these as we go along, we can undo or redo. I can apply labels that I talked about. You can add your own drawings. So instead of taking a picture, you can just take the picture that's in your head and draw it on your note here, make copies, or you can copy directly to Google Docs. This is one thing that our team uses quite frequently, to copy it to Google Docs. A lot of times we have really great ideas that come up in team meetings, such as performing informative webinars. And then an idea just turns into a quick, reminder note. And then we build on that idea just in Google Keep. And then when we hit traction with it, we convert it to Google Docs so we can bring that idea to life. Now, the last piece that I want to highlight when working with your notes is that you can collaborate with your notes too. So I can select this familiar icon, the collaborator icon, and choose who I want to share it with. So I can share this with Fast Eddie, save, and now Fast Eddie will have the ability to work on this note with me. So if we want a shared to-do list, or maybe just some shared notes, you can share them with one another. You can see who has access to your notes, so I can see just the icon on here, so I can see who has access to all of my notes just looking down. There's a lot of F's for Fast Eddie. We just use that demonstration quite frequently. Okay, so now that we have that note complete, we're going to look at just working with your notes and lists in general. So one thing you'll see is that right now we have a grid view, but you can turn it into a list view. I personally like the grid view just because I like to see pretty much everything all at once and then just organize it to my own preference. You can also pin task using this pin icon. So if there's just 3 notes that you reference daily or just frequently, you can pin them so they are at the top of your screen. So very helpful. You can also then archive. So as I said, so you can archive. So what I want to clarify is it does not delete the task. It will just go in your archive section. So you can keep those notes and you can search on them in the future, but that way you have the ability to just keep what you had. Now, the last thing I want to highlight with the reminders in Google Keep is that it does associate directly to your reminders calendar. So if you have, let's find one, December 19th, we have a reminder there. So let's go to December 19th, and here we go. I can just view this directly in Google Keep. So submit my TPS report. You can view it in Google Keep then. It doesn't matter if you mark it as done in here. It doesn't matter if you mark it as done on your calendar. Either is fine. Okay, I'm going to pause there just to see what other questions we had coming in, because I did see a lot of questions coming in as we were going through. Okay. Okay, perfect. Can you see if others edited your notes? Great question. So if somebody else edited a note, it will have that note grayed out, like this one that I have my cursor over, and it says who edited it and when they did it. So Fast Eddie was in here editing on January 24th. Looks like I haven't been in that particular note in a while. This one, July 31st, not as bad, but still a while ago. So you can see exactly the last time that others were editing the notes. Great question. Good question here. can you add an email to Google Keep like you do with Task? So there's not a button in here that says add to Google Keep. What you can do is act like you're printing the email and save it as a PDF. So then you can just save it directly to Google Keep. But that's a really good question. What if I have personal and work Google Keep reminders? So I'm assuming the question is it okay if you have personal and work in the same account? Yes, that's okay. So if you have a label here that's just personal notes and reminders, that's perfectly fine. Nobody else will be able to see those unless you give them access. Another question, if you complete all of your tasks in Google Keep, does it show in Google Calendar? Good question. So if you check these items, that'll be just checking off the individual items. But if you're finished with that entire list, you'd mark it as done. So it won't be marked as done on your calendar until you hit that done button. So you can continue to work down your list, but it will just be for those items. But good question. Can you save web pages to Google Keep? So yes, using that Chrome extension that I showed you earlier, and in the slide deck, it will give you a link directly to that Chrome extension. It will give you the ability to just take any web page and save it to Google Keep. So I can save this. It's a bit of a hole because I'm just saving Google Keep to Google Keep. But that way, if you're surfing the web, it'll just have the associated page. So here's a good one example here. So you can keep track of your task. So this goes to the Google Learning Center. And then I just took notes. So you can see it even brought me to a specific spot on that page. How do you access Google Keep on iPhone? I saw another one for Android and I saw another question for phone. So if you have iPhone or Android, just go to your App Store or iTunes Store and just type in Google Keep. And then you'll get the application and it'll sync exactly. So what you see in the web version will be the same as you see on your phone. Just be sure to sign in with the Google account that you want to use it for, whether it's your personal, hopefully it's your business account. That way you can use it for your work notes. So a question here, I've noticed my reminders follow me if I do not get to them. That's correct. So your reminders follow you. If you don't complete it, it will follow you to the next day, and they'll just continue to stack up. So they will follow you. You'd have to mark them as complete. Kind of the intention is to remind you, and it doesn't feel like it's done its job until you mark them to complete. If you don't like that, I would either just delete them then or set a different date and time. Because I see the latter part of that question is how do you modify notification settings on a mobile device? Depends if you have an Android or an iPhone, but that'll just be under the calendar settings. So open the calendar and then go to settings and then you can edit the notifications. If you don't want reminders at all on your mobile phone, again, when you go to the calendar settings, just uncheck that box that says reminders, and then you won't get the notifications for that. But I can see how that could be annoying. So if you're usually on the computer anyway, and then you get a notification on the computer and you get a notification on your phone, it could be kind of overkill. Okay, that is all of the questions. So I have one more slide here that I'd really like to share with you to continue your learning. There is actually two pieces. There is a free G Suite training tool. I'm going to put it in the chat box. It's also going to be in the slides that we're going to provide. I really like this training tool because it will train you on all of the topics. You will get this question mark in the top right corner of your screen. and it will recognize that I'm in Google Keep, and it will offer short videos on how to use it effectively. So if you didn't memorize everything I said on today's session, you could look at creating notes and lists, organizing notes and lists, working, using labels, searching. Google Keep on mobile devices, we had a lot of questions about those. It'll give you short videos. It's a completely free training tool, so I encourage you to just add it to your G Suite account. And then there's also the Learning Center, gsuite.google.com/learning center. And there is a portion here specifically for Google Keep. So I'm going to add that to the chat box once more. The Getting Started guide will be most useful for you because it will walk through a lot of the features we spoke about today. But what's helpful too is a little cheat sheet. So if you just need a cheat sheet of the different features and what to click, when to click, and where to click in Google Keep, this is a great cheat sheet to use. You can also download it as a PDF. So for those of you that still like the hard copies, maybe you just want to leave it on your desk, you can download it as a PDF as well. Okay, I didn't see any additional questions coming in. So at this time, we have come full circle in our webinar. I do see, Abhinav, I see that your hand went up. If that was a mistake, feel free to lower your hand by selecting the raise hand icon. Otherwise, I will unmute you now so you can ask your question. Hi, Abhinav, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Did you have a question?
Yeah. So what I was trying to understand was that if uh, I have a fixed group of users who I want to share my Keep notes with. So anytime I add a new note, that should automatically just share it with them. Is that an option?
Ooh, unfortunately, not that I'm aware of.
You know what I'm saying? So I have like a team of 5 people. They should.
Mhm.
I don't want to add collaborators. It should just collaborate with them by default anytime I
Yeah,
add it.
yeah. I could see how that could be a very helpful use case. That is not a native feature that I'm aware of, but I'm happy to ask internally to see if anybody is aware of any special workarounds.
Great. If you don't mind, please. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll go ahead and mute you again. Okay, and then I'll pause for just another 30 seconds here just to make sure there were no outstanding questions. So if you have any additional questions about task reminders, Google Keep, or if you had a random question, I'm happy to answer that as well. Okay, I don't see any additional questions coming in. So I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you taking the time to continue your knowledge just on the G Suite platform. We also welcome any feedback. We run these informative webinars once a quarter. We are planning to do an informative session on the new Google Calendar redesign next. But if you have any great ideas, feel free to share them with us so we can continue providing these informative sessions. With that, thank you so much for your time and attention, and I hope you have a great day. Have a good one.